Hi, I'm Sunny J. Welcome to Sunny J Live. We're going to talk about the ins, the outs, the ups, the downs, the roundabouts, the slips, the trips, the stumbles, and the falls. But most importantly, the get back ups as we together engage in this thing called life. Let's talk about it. And today I am delighted. I have Karen Peoples with me. She has an awesome story, and I say awesome, not that it's a good story, but it got you to where you are today. So I was reading this book, The Autobiography of Karen, Raped and Restored. And let me tell you, it is amazing what you went through and that you are where you are today. So tell me a little bit about the book. Tell our audience about the book, because I'm reading the book.
Yeah. Well, the book is an autobiography, like you said, and it's a story of my life where it began with child molestation at 3 years old. Of course, you don't know what that is to be able to call it child molestation, but however, it began at 3, all till maybe 14 years old.
Amazing. Now, in reading the book, I know that, one thing you did in the book, you mentioned you didn't want to give somebody's name because you didn't want anybody to be angry with them. But when you were molested at 3, that was a family member.
That was a family member.
Right in your own household.
That was my brother.
Your brother.
Oldest brother.
Your oldest brother.
I better differentiate because it's 3 of them.
Three of them.
It was the oldest one.
The oldest brother.
Yes.
And your mother did not know.
She didn't know. I was scared to tell her, because I got threats. I was scared. At 3 years old, you believe the threats. You believe you're actually in danger. So they can scare you into doing exactly or not telling what they want you to tell, not telling what they're doing. So right. I was scared to tell.
And it's funny because we say at the age of 3, but there's people out there right now that are scared to tell.
Oh, yeah.
Adults that are scared to tell.
Absolutely.
Isn't that amazing? So that was at 3.
That was at 3.
And then I know that he went in the service?
He went in the service when he was 18 and I was 7. So it continued from 3 to 7. Mm-hmm. However, when he went into the Navy, my mother's boyfriend continued it. So I'm left there thinking that this is how this thing goes. So it continued all the way until 14.
So from 3 to 14, it just changed from your brother to your mother's boyfriend.
Yes.
And you still believe your mother didn't know?
I believe she didn't know, but I was scared to tell her. But sometimes, Sunny J, I believe they do know, and they don't want to know. So I kind of think, sense something. She might have sensed something. You would have to sense something or be insecure or leery about something, but not wanting to admit it or not wanting to, face the reality of it.
Right. And I get that, too, because sometimes, like you said, you don't want to face the reality. But the problem was that you were the victim.
Yes.
And you were the one going through this.
Absolutely.
But at the same time, you were still scared to tell your mother.
To tell, yeah. Because your perpetrator tells you not to tell. And they tell you that the person is not going to listen or that person is going to be gone the next day, so you better not tell because you'll be left with me. And that's the fear that they put in children a lot, even at that young age.
Amazing.
Yeah.
From 3 all the way through to 14.
To 14.
And then it only gets better. But on that note, stay tuned. You got to hear this next part. We'll be right back.
Come on. Oh, G-L-S, yeah. The gloss. 24 G-L-S, 365, yeah. G-L-S, the gloss. G-L-S,
Welcome back to Sunny J Live. We're here with Karen Peoples, and we're just talking about, it's interesting how you can be victimized for such a long period of time and so scared to tell anyone because there's a lack of trust or what could happen, the repercussions. And as we were talking off the camera, so you weren't here, but as we were talking off the camera, you mentioned that actually you got pregnant at the age of 12.
At 12.
Tell us about that.
Well, I was 12 and my brothers were doing drugs with their friends. Mm-hmm. So my brother's friends heard about what's going on in the house with me. So I was just a free, good time to them. So one of them came into my room and was molested by him and became impregnated at 12.
12.
At 12. And I delivered a 7-pound baby at age 13.
At 13, wow.
Yeah.
Now, I know in the book, and I hate to keep telling you about what's in the book because I really do want you to get it for yourselves and really read what's going on. But I know that when that happened and your mom found out, she took you to a girls' home?
She took me to a girl's home and told me in my ear that I'm not coming back home. So when you're thinking that you're victimized already by these perpetrators that tell you that your mom is not going to help, then when you become in such a tragic state and you really find out she don't help, it became so true what the perpetrators were saying.
Right. So
a lot of times parents make mistakes in being you are the victim already, but then when you do tell, or when it's when they find out, you become a victim all over again.
All over again. That happens quite often. I remember that happening with a young lady that I knew.
Yeah.
So I know that happens quite often.
Oh yeah.
And it's just a sad situation.
It is.
And I tell you, when you go through these kinds of things, and I know even past that, there's other things that you went through that we're going to have a chance to talk about, and all of that. But you got to read the book. Lots and lots of things happen. Is there anything else you want to tell us about the book?
Well, that book, actually, the autobiography of my story, led to this book because it became so many questions of, well, how do you find out if this is going on in your home if the child won't tell? There were hundreds of questions that I got on how can I know if my child is going through this? How can I know if, this person in my home is who they say they are, because we have Uncle Ray, Uncle William, everybody's an uncle.
Everybody's an uncle.
And they come and tell you, this is your new uncle and this is your new uncle, but that uncle is not in the home for you, they're in the home for your child. So it's how to know that, and that's what I wrote, and I answered those questions in that book.
And this book is called She Won't Tell. Answers to Surviving Sexual Abuse. And this is available right now, is it?
Yes, that's available right now, as well as this one you have to order. This and you order from 2 different places.
Okay, well, we'll get that information.
Yes.
We will put it on the screen for our viewers so that they can get this information. What advice would you give them right now, the parent that's watching, what advice would you give them or signs that they should look for? You
have to be a communicator, and you have to be an honest communicator, and you can't work all the time. Sometimes we look at things, we look at the rent and the mortgage and the car note and the bills, and that's the first priority. And then the child is at that home, and the child is being accused of being, I have to survive, I have to provide for you. So they become your victim because I have to provide for you. So that becomes ally to the molester, knowing that you're not going to be there because your priority is survival versus the child's survival.
Gotcha. And that's a key point because today, so many women work outside the home, and a lot of times if they have multiple kids, and we want to keep up with the Joneses, and so, you work more and more and more so that you can provide, the things that everybody else has.
Yes.
But that's a sacrifice of time with your child, and then that protection is removed.
Yes, and it's an opportunity to build that trust and build that communication, the ability to communicate. If you're always at work, that child is going to trust who you leave them in the hands of. They're going to trust them.
Right. Now, that's a good question to think about. So, viewers, if you have children at home and you realize that they're home a lot by themselves, be careful who you're leaving them with, right?
Absolutely.
Be very careful who you're leaving them with. Be very careful who's living in your home.
Yes,
That is very, very crucial, right?
Absolutely.
On that note, think about it. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Sunny J Live, and my guest today is Karen Peoples. I hope you've been watching because this show, I got my box of tissues right here because I'm thinking about all the children that have been abused, and all the ones that we don't know about and all the ones we do know about because they're our cousins, our sisters, our neighbors.
Every day.
Every day. So what I want to do is I want to come a little bit forward to you as an adult. How has this impacted your life?
Well, it makes you very careful. I am very careful, but being a survivor, it's like I care so much about those that are after me or before me because I know what they're going through, because I know this thing is real. So I call myself an advocate because it's a struggle looking around, knowing that this thing is going on, and knowing that there are children that are actually afraid to talk. And then you go, try to go to the churches and get help, into the churches, and lots of churches won't talk about it. So I advocate for them because I know that it's real. So it's almost like I'm on a search as in my adult age. Mm-hmm. It's like, I know it's out there. I know it's real. And whoever is doing it, I have to come and I can do something about it. So, but I can't do anything about the whole world.
True.
So what you can do is you can advocate and then get the word out, like what you're doing on your show. And you do different shows to get the word out for parents to become aware of that, of the fact that this is real.
It's real. It truly is real.
It is so real.
So we gave a word to the parents. Yes. Now, someone that is being victimized right now, what would you say to them?
I would say, please tell somebody. And if that person don't listen, tell somebody else. Tell somebody until somebody tells and somebody does something about it. Because if you keep it quiet, I believe that our silence is the enemy's greatest ally. And they use our fear and the silence to get what they want, to do what they want to do for however period of time they want to do it. And we become a victim for a lifetime. But you still have to grow up and become an adult.
This is true.
Yeah.
This is very true. And there's a lot of things that you've done past that time, because I know you're a funeral director and all of that. But I want to say this. I know you have a number of children. Well, how many children do you have?
I have 4 children.
You have 4 children.
And I have 16 grandchildren.
And 16 grandchildren.
Yes.
Well, God bless you. Now, how did that impact you as far as having a relationship with men past all the abuse?
Well, I'll tell you, it's a careful life. You have to monitor. My husband and I have been married for 32 years. And I always communicate with him, be careful with me. Don't just zoom in on me. I have to have a communication. I have to have, we have to talk, we have to spend time. You do exactly the opposite of what a molester has done. And you live your life, even as an adult, you live your life forcing almost your mate to do exactly the opposite of what was done. Right. So a rapist will attack. So you want a lifestyle with a man. If you come out of this wanting a man, I'm just throwing that out there,
right?
Because there's some stories out there of the detrimental change that a molested child you can go through and manifest yourself and do things different.
Right.
But me and my husband, we talk about being careful with how you spend time with me. Rapists don't spend time.
Right.
How you communicate with me, rapists don't communicate. How you're careful with me, because rapists are not careful. So you grow up as an adult wanting things done totally the opposite. And you don't want, it's not a, right now, let's do it, and then it's over with. It's a whole day operation. Talk, walk, have dinner, eat, and just do it very carefully.
It takes work to be with you, Karen, is what I'm hearing.
Right,
but it's understandable because given the circumstance.
Yeah.
And that's something that's real important that people have to understand.
Absolutely.
Of course, a person has to care enough. And if you guys been together 32 years?
Yeah, 32 years.
Then obviously it's working. You've been able to
still work.
And it's still work.
Yes.
And you've been able to communicate, and he's been able to understand.
Absolutely.
What it means.
Absolutely.
Okay, well,
you have
good.
to grow up and become in a relationship with somebody that cares and understands, because that's very important.
So everybody's affected by this. When a child is molested, there's all effects in family, and people take sides sometime, and then of course the person themselves at that time is a victim.
That's true.
But you are most definitely a survivor.
Yes.
What do you think made you survive, or has made you as strong as you are today?
I have to say I fell in love with the Lord, and I gathered strength from the Lord. And I know, like a lot of people will say, well, no, I did, but I never took a drug. I didn't have to have counseling. I wasn't on depressant. I wasn't on no kind of medication. So the only thing that I ever know, and I knew then at the time, that I was drawn into strength by the Lord. That's all I ever knew. And I gained strength from it. Every day I gained strength from it, got more powerful. And now I'm an advocate because I have the knowledge, but that had to come from the power that God gave me to survive.
And that's powerful because there is a difference between empathy and sympathy.
Yes.
There's a big difference. And in your case, you can empathize.
Yes.
Because you totally do understand
Yes.
what that circumstance looks like.
Yes.
And a lot of times I do believe that we go through things not just for ourselves, but for other people. And you've been able to share this and help other people get through this, help parents to understand what it looks like
Yes.
but it also what it looks like on the other side.
Yes.
And that's where you are. I mean, you have been able to have your business and have a family and be in a relationship for a long period of time. So what would you think would be, now I know you feel like the Lord got you here.
Yeah.
What would you say your purpose is?
My purpose is to allow somebody to understand that they can make it, that you don't have to just exist because this has happened. You can live productive life. I raised 4 children. I raised 17 grands. I cut every umbilical cord except for 2. So I was very active in their lives. But you know what, Sunny? I'm a watcher. I'm a watcher over my grandchildren as well. And that's some of the stigmatisms that you carry for a lifetime. Is like you zero in and you become a overseer. And sometimes maybe it's, a little bit harsh, or maybe it's a little bit more, severe than normal. But I'm always there. I always got my eyes on those girls. But I do know that in my heart, that never happened to them. And that's where that's where I live. And that's where I get my peace in my heart, because I have 12 granddaughters that I know this never happened to because of my way and because of my advocacy. Yeah.
But I tell you, it's just amazing because right here on the table we have brave, which you definitely are.
Yeah.
And we have the word peace.
Oh, yeah. Look at you.
And that's what it's all about, being brave enough to survive and then find that peace in your life.
Yes.
Because now you can actually live once you find that peace.
Yes.
So it's just an amazing, I am just so delighted. I know I've got a couple more questions. Our viewers probably have questions. So if you have questions, definitely, send us a message. If you have topics you want us to talk about, you have questions for Karen, definitely we're here because we want to hear from you too.
Absolutely.
But on that note, hang in there. Stay tuned for just a minute. We'll be right back.
Get out.
I'm sorry I've been bad. I promise I'll be good from now on.
My mom had gotten in the habit of dropping me off with totally different strangers. One day while my mom was doing one of her vanishing acts, my Aunt Cece dropped me off to my grandmother on my dad's side named Beatrice. Boy, I sure didn't know what I was getting myself into.
Better not tell nobody, man.
Then I was sentenced to prison and pregnant.
I'm Dr. Lewis, and this is Nurse Thomas. Relax.
Okay.
So I ended up going back to jail. I still couldn't get it right, and I met a girl named Tammy, and we became fast friends. And she introduced me to her brother E.
I'm gonna end up putting the ring right there on that finger. I ain't playing.
You drive a hard bargain, baby.
You crazy.
And let's go.
I'm not coming. Oh, come on.
I don't deserve this.
So what, you gonna shoot me?
If we ask you to do something, you do it.
Right.
Why did you take that money from my purse?
Really gonna come over here with this? Oh, you came here to play, huh?
I'm ready to take things to the next level.
Hi, welcome back to Sunny J Live. And Karen, I'm here with Karen Peoples. I've enjoyed the time that we've had to spend together.
Yeah.
I have been enlightened. I know our viewers have been enlightened. And just talking about this molestation of children, and not just children, because at the age of 13, 14, they don't really think of themselves as children, but of course they still are children.
Right.
And they are our children. And that's why we have to be so careful. But I know that you have some wonderful projects and things that you're working on. So share with our viewers a little bit about that.
Well, one thing I'm doing is I go to the schools, I go to the high schools, and I talk to girls. I've traveled from here to Detroit, Michigan, to New York, back down through Georgia, just stopping in at the high schools, just allowing girls to know that there's somebody that cares about what you've been through. And it's almost become a idea. It's become an idea that I know that these girls are in these schools. And one particular went to Atlanta, Georgia, and spoke to a school where these girls were failing. And then we did this seminar about this. And then every one of those girls, every one of them, when they wrote me back to say the aftermath of that seminar, they all passed and graduated because they had that on their minds. And so how can you study? So that's one of my projects that I do. I go to different schools. I have not been successful in going to middle schools, even though I know that's the area, that's a target area, but it's also a sensitive area. So I haven't been really invited to attack like that because they have a certain rule, DCF rule or counseling rule. I haven't done that. And then I did a play doing a play now. I've done it about 11 times now in the Central Florida area.
Oh, wow.
That shows exactly what molestation looks like on stage.
Oh, okay.
And it shows what a molester looks like. He's not a big burly animal. He's a man in a suit, and he's got a good job. Or he stands in the pulpit. He teaches school. He coaches sports.
Right.
So the play shows exactly what it looks like and how it affects a child on the stage and the actual hurt through the duration of the child's life. So the child started at the age of 3 because that's where I started, and then she grows up actually on stage. It's incredible.
I can't wait to see that. Now, what is that called?
That's called She Won't Tell.
She Won't Tell. We definitely have to look out for that.
Oh, yeah.
The next production, I'm hoping I'll be there.
Yeah.
I'd love to even get if you don't mind, because I know people are very sensitive, but I'd love to even just have a little bit of a snippet of that at some point in time to show on our show. So that inspire our viewers to come out if it's in their area. But also to realize that when you go through things, a lot of times it helps you to grow into something else.
Yes.
And by going through that, now you're able to expose it, you're able to benefit the community at large by allowing the people to really take a closer look at it. They're human. They're just human people. That's who they are.
Absolutely.
And whatever, walk of life that they may be in does not exclude them from being a molester.
Absolutely.
So that is really amazing. But definitely the autobiography of Karen Peoples is actually just Autobiography of Karen. I want you to get it right, so if you go looking for it. And it's called Raped and Restored.
Oh, yeah.
Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Come on. Oh, GLS, the gloss. 24/7. GLS, 365. GLS, the gloss. GLS,
Welcome back to Sunny J Live. Today we're talking about childhood molestation. And I look at this and you just see, shiny cover, right? But underneath it, there's scars. And all of us have scars.
Wow.
But some scars last a lifetime,
lifetime.
and some of them can be healed.
Wow.
And in your case, a lot of them have been healed.
Yes.
But you're able to go out and help those that still have scars.
They still have
and
scars.
the sad part is a lot of times when we go through things and we meet people, they don't tell you the truth. Like She Won't Tell. They don't tell you the truth. So you can see it in certain ways, but you don't see it totally outward. So in their actions,
they won't let it out.
They won't let it out.
They won't let you see. Yeah.
Or to become withdrawn.
Yeah. Or they have a position, so they have to hold on to that position, so they hide the real them. Through the position or job, or they cover it up.
And the stats are amazing. But, when you look at stats, they only tell what's reported. And we know there's a lot that's not reported. Right?
This was not reported.
This was not reported. And also in the book, you talked about your sister being your angel. How was she your angel?
My sister was, because she passed away, that's why I say was, she was 15 years older than me. So she was grown and gone by the time I got to 3 or 4 years old, so she really didn't know what was actually happening in the house. But when my mother hid me, when I got pregnant at 12, she hid me. My sister searched and found me. And she came to this, I don't know to this day how she found me, but she came and she came up the elevator and opened the elevator door, and there she was. So she was there every day through that. So when I thought I was by myself, I was not by myself. So she came and she brought me gifts, and she didn't condemn me. And she, like everybody else did, because I thought I was such a bad kid that I had to be hidden. So she came and really opened the door and shined the light on the fact that this is not your fault. So you will not be the bad guy. You are actually the victim. And she showed me my strength, and she showed me the light of me. So I called her my angel after that.
Everyone needs an angel.
Oh, yeah.
And I think God puts angels in our lives,
I think he does
to
too.
guide us and to be there for us. So she was your angel, and I know that you kind of followed her footsteps. I know she was going to school to be a nurse.
She was a nurse.
Okay, and then you went back to school.
I went to nursing school. Yeah.
You went to nursing school.
Yeah. Kind of didn't like that, but I finished it. Then I said, well, sis, I don't want to be a nurse like you, so I went to the fire department.
Okay, tell us about that.
Well, I was paramedic for Detroit Fire Department, actually. and got a chance to help a lot of girls in the different situations that I worked in. I keep finding myself in positions that I'm the helper, and I loved it. And things I didn't expect in the fire department came upon me. So it's like, okay, God, just like you sent me somebody, you're sending them somebody. So I was able to help a lot of girls, a lot of young girls, and sometimes I had to sneak and do it. Sometimes I had to go back, in the night and take little bags of groceries and help, or find a little girl to talk to and just say, hey, if this is happening, I'll give her my number or give her my card. So I found myself advocating, even in the fire department. That was a great job opportunity.
Okay.
Yeah.
So nursing, fire department, then what happened?
Well, I had a major incident on the fire department where I rolled over the ambulance and I was forced to retire. So that's how I got to Florida. So I had to re-educate myself again. So I just decided, well, I get the quieter part of life and become a funeral director. So that's what I did.
The quieter part of life.
Quieter
That's
part
funny.
of life, yeah.
Now, how long have you been doing that?
17 years.
Wow. That's a long time. Yeah. That's a long time. And another thing you mentioned to me, you mentioned that one of the things that helped you heal was comedy.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. When I was with my sister, she had stacks and stacks of albums by Mom's Mabley. And I was just, in my healing period, after I delivered that baby at 13, in my healing time, I would listen to these albums. And I would just laugh. And I found myself feeling better every day. It's almost like medicine every day. So I'm thinking, if this does this for me, then I'll learn how to do it. And do it to make somebody else able to laugh. So that's what I did. Became phenomenal a comedian. Made a living doing it. Bought a house and took care of my children and nice cars in comedy.
As a comedian.
As a comedian.
Now, see, there's all kinds of facets to you, Karen. I mean, I'm just looking at you. You're a funeral director. You've been a nurse. You was a paramedic. Then you became a comedian. And now you're a funeral director.
Yeah.
I mean, that's quite a path.
Yeah.
That's quite a path. So now, do you do any comedy now?
I do. In church, I do. Sometimes I do. Well, I do it all the time. It's like, it comes out. Like, I can be introducing a song and I'll do something. In the play, I do comedy. I do a church mother. And she is hilarious. And the people just laugh. And that makes my heart just melt to know that there's so much healing in laughter.
It is.
So I study it. And I've become pretty good at it. So I do it in the play to make the seriousness of it kind of scramble it up with a little comedy to give them opportunity to see the realness of the subject and that there's a brighter side to every problem. And comedy was my medicine. There was no counselor. There was no drugs. I never did drugs. Never did drink. Never did none of that stuff. Comedy was my medicine. So I have medicine that I give to other people.
And that's wonderful, because a lot of times that's what they feel like you have to have. You need to have counseling, but you got to find your way.
You got to find your way.
You got to find your way. And the number one thing that you mentioned, you always had God.
Yes.
And you always believed that He was
and
there.
That's where my strength was.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
And then He sent you an angel and all these things. So that's what we want to, we really want to encourage everyone that's watching. This show is not to talk about all the bad things that happen, but it's real. We want to acknowledge and we want to understand. And then we want to help you move past that.
Yes.
To grow and to survive and to live. Yes. That's what it's all about. Yeah. And Karen, you know what? You are a prime example of just that. I am inspired. I know our audience and our viewers are inspired. I know that you want a copy of this book. I got to finish reading it. I haven't, so you can have this copy. But I know you're going to want to have a copy, and we will have the information for you so you'll know how to get a copy. And there's one other thing I've got to tell you, but you got to hang on, and we'll be right back. Welcome back to Sunny J Live. I tell you, it's just getting more and more interesting, and I hope you have watched this whole episode. If you haven't, you have missed something, so you might want to go back and catch it. But one thing I want to leave you with as we move forward, you're going to see Karen again because there's another interesting fact that you don't know about her. So tell us about that.
I'm Karen Peoples, and I was victim number 31 of the Cass Corridor killers in the city of Detroit, 1975. He was better known as Bigfoot. His thing was to hurt them, rape them, and then kill them.
And then kill them. And you know what? We're going to stop her on that because you know why? We're going to bring her back, and I want you to hear the whole story. We're going to talk about surviving the worst things that could possibly happen, still be strong, move forward in your life. That was 1975.
Yes.
That's a long time ago. And look at her today. You know, you can see her smile, you can see the life in her, you can see that didn't stop her from moving forward and encouraging others. And that's what we're here to do.
Yes.
So we're going to leave you on a note of encouragement.
Worst things that can happen in life are not the worst things. And so life goes on, even after what you think are the worst things. They end up not being the worst things because the worst things can turn into the best things if you allow it. And it's a mindset. Woe is me is not an option. To live and to complain and you don't know what happened to me is not an option. You have to have a purpose. You have to have a mindset that you want to live. And that thing that they did is not going to stop you.
You heard it right here from Karen, who has survived so many things. And the worst thing is not the worst thing.
Not the worst thing.
But you know what? Today we want to live, we want to love, we want to survive, and we want to give back. And that's what we're going to continue to do.
Yeah.
Stay tuned. Keep in touch. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, all the social media.
Yeah.
Send us your information. Send us your questions. Send us your topics you want to talk about. And if you've got an interesting story, we want to talk about it. Let's talk.
I love it.